Let's make some stuffed bell peppers. Come on. Hey y'all, it's April and welcome to my channel, My Crazy Creative Life. In today's video, honestly it's an older video, I just hadn't got edited yet. I think it was like the end of August possibly. And anyway, I made some stuffed bell peppers, and today is like October the 9th, so it's been a little bit. There's a vast difference too in that day I made it, which I think at that time was the hottest day of the year, to today, which is very, very cold. So anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed today's video. I was struggling that day, so apparently the beginning of this video, I don't even think I hit record, so you'll kind of see it going along this video, but hopefully it's still enough to make sense. And the video, the recipe that I got, it was off of Pinterest, and I will link her page in the description box below, and then I'll try to link it somewhere whenever I get to that point, somewhere across the screen. That way you can see where to go, because honestly at this moment I can't remember where it was at. So I'll go back and I'll look, and that's it, I guess. So hopefully you will enjoy today's video and you will make these stuffed bell peppers, and you'll think they're pretty good. So if you haven't liked or subscribed yet, if you don't mind, go ahead and hit the like button, share button, and go ahead and subscribe. I'm so close to getting them a go. I want to at least get to 500, and I'm so close to being there. But if you would, go ahead and hit subscribe, and I will, and I'll shut up now so you can get into the video. Trying to not be wasteful here, in the freezer I had some leftover taco meat that I had put in a baggie and froze. And then I'm pretty sure this was a combination of taco and sausage. So from what I'm reading on those bell peppers, that's kind of what it takes, is taco, hamburger, or hamburger and sausage. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these in some hot water and kind of get them unthawed. And then all this will have to do is warm back up because they've already been cooked. And then just have to warm them back up, and then I need to fix the rice, get all that ready, and then we'll put them together and put them in the crock pot. I've got my meat unthawed, for the most part unthawed, and I went ahead, I think I had some onion in this anyway from the last time that I fixed the actual meat. I probably didn't the taco one though, and I don't know about the others. So anyway, just in case there's not, or not enough, I diced up, I had a half an onion in the fridge and I diced it up. And so all I want to do with this is just warm it up. Get to work on the rice. I also added in about a cup of diced green pepper that I had in the fridge before it ruined. So I went ahead and added about a cup of that in. And then I didn't feel like chopping and mincing fresh garlic, so I added about a tablespoon of just that minced garlic that you can get at Walmart. So I'm going to let this just be on simmer, and then I'll get the rice going. I should have read the directions all the way through first, like a good little girl. I did not. It calls for 3/4 a cup, and to that line, that's about 3/4 a cup. I know that looks like a cup, but it calls for 3/4 a cup of long grain white rice. You can use brown white rice. You can use brown rice. It just, she said that it may take a little bit of a longer cook time, and you may have to add a little bit more liquid in there. So, but I don't see anything where she has said anything about soaking, rinsing anything in rice. That's not good. So I'm not trying to knock her recipe. I'm just saying, you know, I could have overlooked it. So there's a cup of rice. I'm going to rinse it off real good. Okay, so I can't find the bowl I was looking for. I'm just going to kind of soaking them in that. I've got just tap hot water, but I'm soaking them in that, and then I'll rinse it off one more time before I put it over here in my burger stuff mixture. It calls for a cup of chicken broth. This is some of that bone broth. I can't talk today with nothing. This is some of that bone broth I made that I canned the other day, and that's some that was left, so I wanted to go ahead and use that before it ran. It also calls for a 15-ounce can of the diced petite tomatoes. My family isn't real crazy about tomatoes. I am, but the rest of my family, I don't know what's wrong with them. So what I'm going to do, I still have some tomato juice that I had made there. If you've watched the video, I don't know yet, but there was some left over. So I'm going to go ahead and get 15 ounces of that tomato juice and pour in here. And it also calls for a can of Rotel. I think I will go ahead and put that can of Rotel because it'll just have a few tomatoes in it. Okay, here is, if I can get everything to fit, I think I'm gonna have to switch over pots. But there was, I went ahead and just done a total 2 cups, so 16 ounces of my tomato juice that I made the other day because I'm trying to get rid of it. But yeah, I think I'm gonna have to switch this over, y'all, into like a pot instead of my pan. So be right back. Okay, this is a 10-ounce can of the knockoff Rotel. I think I got this at Save a Lot, y'all. Some things I'm cheap on. I don't have to have everything name brand. And the way prices are going up, it's harder and harder to get name brand. Anyway, that I only put just a very few tomatoes in there instead of like that whole big can of diced petite tomatoes. But I will link her recipe in my description box. That way you can go back and refer to hers if you prefer to, and show her some love. Okay, so there's that. Now I think the last 2 things that we need to add before I add the rice is Worcestershire sauce and brown sugar. I'll be right back. It calls for 3 teaspoons of brown sugar, which 3 teaspoons equals 1 tablespoon. So however you want to say it. So 3 teaspoons of brown sugar, 2 teaspoons of Worcestershire. Okay. You can see some of that starchy stuff, and you can see, even if I pour it out in here, how cloudy that is. That's some of the stuff that's a little harder for some people to digest. Rice. So I'm going to rinse it off for a good one more time, and then I'll add it over here. Okay, we'll bring this to a boil, and then we're going to turn it down to simmer, and I think you simmer it for 20 minutes. In the meantime, while that is, it's going to come to a boil, and then I'll turn it, and I'll stir it and turn it down to simmer. But while that is simmering, what she says in her recipe, that's when you go get your bell peppers. You cut off the tops of the bell peppers. Strike that. You cut off the tops of the bell peppers before you start this mixture over here, because she says you can cut up the tops of those bell peppers and put in that mixture. I already had peppers I needed to use up, and my bell peppers are not going to be real big, so I didn't worry about that. But she said that during this 20 minutes, that's when you take your bell peppers that you've cut the tops off, that you have scraped out that membrane and all the seeds and all of that good stuff. At that point, you can put those peppers in the oven. I don't remember what degree or anything, but if you choose to do it that way, then you can look when I send the link. But you can put them in the oven. I believe it's 425, but I don't want to be 100 on that yet. I'll go back and look, and I'll leave it right here. But still, if you go look at her recipe too. Anyway, you put it in the oven for the 20 minutes, and that's just going to kind of roast your peppers a little bit and kind of help get them softened somewhat. But you can also choose to do a crock pot method. If you do the crock pot method, you don't put them in the oven first to soften them up, sort of semi-roast them or whatever. There's no need since you're putting it in the crock pot. So I'm planning on putting mine in the crock pot. So I'm going to let that cook up for its 20 minutes. During that, I'm going to go ahead and cut up my peppers, get everything out, and then I will put everything in the crock pot, and it says to cook on low for 3.5 hours. So we'll see. I think I've cooked them one time, and I think that was probably 20 years ago. So it's been a long time since I've cooked these, let alone eat them. So I hope I didn't really like them back then. I don't think. but you know how you get older, you change. So I'm trying them again. So anyway, we'll come back here in just a minute. I just realized I forgot to put my apron on and pull my hair back, but I don't have hair anywhere. So let's go outside to the garden, and we're going to cut some fresh, right off the vine, bell peppers. I'll come out here and this poor guy's fell completely over. So we're going to have to stake it up. There's some that's pretty decent size. So I'm going to cut these. I got 3 bell peppers and a spider. I had to kill the poor spider. But I probably should have let that grow a little bit more. I didn't realize it was that little when I was actually cutting it. It was hard to see up there. I'll tell you what, it's so hot. Today's the hottest day of the year so far. And here it is, the end of August, and it's the hottest day of the year. Alright, I'm probably going to have to go find some other peppers I had picked the other day. They're going to be a little bit softer than these, but that's not really a big deal because the whole goal is kind of softening up these anyway. So I'm not really worried about them being soft, and I'll be right back. I do have 6, so hopefully that'll be enough because some of these are small, but this recipe is supposed to hold 6. And honestly, the ones I picked just a few days ago, they're really not any softer than the ones I've just now picked. So I'm just taking out these membranes and the seeds and the tops. And then here in a minute, I'll rinse out the leftover seeds. I should have left this one on fine, but alright, so that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to keep cutting the tops off. And see what she's saying, if you do it the other way, you can take those I cannot talk today. You can take those tops and cut them up and throw them in that mixture. But I'm just going to save these for bone broth. There wasn't no need in using those tops since I had those that were about to go bad if I didn't use them. Alright, I'm going to finish this and I will be back. Alright, slight change of plans. I don't know why, but I guess it took me longer than I thought to prepare everything. So, I wish now I had just done it. Like I said, usually per her instructions, she would have her peppers. She would have her peppers in the oven while she was preparing her filling. So I'm not going to have 3 hours now until everybody gets home. So I'm going to go ahead and soften these up real quick. She said it'd take about 20 minutes. I'm going to soften these up. I just put some oil in there. I'm going to put these in the oven right now on 400 for roughly about 20 minutes. I'm going to pull them out and then I'm going to fill them. I still need to do just a little bit more to the filling, but not much more. This has got getting thick. And it did not have enough taco taste to me. So I've got some homemade somewhere, and I don't know where on earth I had put my homemade taco seasoning. But anyway, so I found a packet of just Walmart brand. I threw that in there. And I'm going to try to get in here in a minute, see if it needs some salt. If it does, I'll add some salt. And also, she calls for cilantro, so I'm going to cut up some cilantro and throw in here. Alright, change of plans again. I thought I had some cilantro left over when I made my salsa last week, and I forgot I used that last little bit in that last batch. So, if I can get this sucker open, I've got dried cilantro. So I'm just gonna put 2 tablespoons of this dried in there. And that should be good. Not bad. needs an acid, so in addition to the tomato, I'm gonna add a little bit of lime juice. Okay, we're gonna start off with 1/4 of a cup of lime juice and go from there. I mean, I obviously don't want it so wet that it messes with the consistency of our stuffing, because you want it pretty thick. But I want to be able to taste it too, so that's good. I think that's fine. All right, when here in about 10-15 minutes, I'm gonna pull them out and then stuff them, and then we'll stick them back in the oven and top them with cheese also. Y'all, I have went back and forth on this recipe. I guess my time management today sucked. It took me a little longer to get everything prepared, and I needed the food done roughly between 3:30ish, somewhere through there, you know, maybe 4 at the latest. And if I had put them in the crock pot and started it, you know, on the low, and she said 3.5 hours, well, that would have put it, that would have put it between 4 and 4:30. And so I was wanting it done a little bit sooner than that. So I did go ahead and soften them in the oven. I roasted them in the oven. They were in there roughly 20-25 minutes. And I pulled them back out. I'm gonna put them back in my crock pot. I'm gonna stuff them. I'm gonna put the cheese on them. And I'm just gonna let them sit. If I will fill them when my family gets home, or at least getting close, when I know it's close to getting to them, time to get home, I'm gonna fill them and see if I think that they're soft enough. If they are, wonderful. If they're not, I will pick them back out, put them back in my pan, and put them back in the oven. So this is real life. All right, but you can see that they have definitely softened. And they're starting to get a little bit of that scorch mark to them or whatever. So, okay. Let me go get the filling and then I'll be right back. Also calls for the 2-cup bag. I think this is the 2-cup bag of Mexican cheese. And you know, so a lot of times I like to blend up my own cheese, but today is a day I just want it kind of quick. And anyway, so we're going to put about half the bag in the stuff itself. And I tell you what, this is going to be way too much. So I've got to figure out what to do with this. They probably make a good soup. Or chili, you know. Alright. But it is definitely Mexican-y. So, I mean, it probably would be. Add you some beans to it and thin it out just a little bit more. That'd probably make a good Mexican soup. All right, we need a big spoon or ladle. And I went ahead and turned my crock pot on right before I started the video back. So it's on low. Yeah, that's a lot left over. And it's because, for one, it called for 8 peppers and I only had 6. For 2, it's probably the large bell peppers, and you see they're not that big. They're anywhere from 1 large and the rest are medium to small. So I will figure out something to do with that. Like I said, I may turn that into soup. Then you're just going to top your peppers with the rest of the cheese. Or at least a half a cup, I think is what she called for. Okay, there they will rest until my family gets home, or if I feel like I'm running out of time, then I'll put them back in that little pan and put them back in the oven and finish. Because once you put them back in the oven, after they've softened and you fill them and you put your cheese on them, you put them back in the oven on like 400-degree temperature, just 10 minutes. So I really feel, let me see, what time is it? It's gonna be at least an hour and a half before everybody gets home. So I think an hour and a half in a crock pot would roughly be about 10 minutes in a stove. So I think I'm good. And I'll let you know what I'm going to do with this, because there's a part of me that doesn't want to refreeze this. Any other time I'd probably say, oh, let's freeze it and have it for later. But where the meat I used, both packages of meat, they were cooked and froze. Then they're unthawed, reheated, basically cooked again. Technically, you're not supposed to refreeze anything that has been frozen and then cooked. And then if it was cooked, frozen, and then cooked again, it's not supposed to be refroze again. So I will figure out something, and I'll try to bring you along for the ride. All right, I will meet you back when these are done. I want to show you just a little bit better view. It's kind of messy down there, but it's okay. All right, take 2. Forgot to hit record. All right, what I was saying was, I went to double check because I thought I had heard that before about cooking meat, freezing it, thawing it, and then not to refreeze it. I thought I heard that somewhere, but I checked and I read a couple of articles, and it said that you can actually do that. That you can, you know, have a meal, freeze it, reheat it, freeze it again, or even meat. So with that said, I think what I'm going to do, I've got something like it. I got it off Amazon. I don't know the name brand, but it's just like one of those little food savers. Whatever you call it gets there out. Lord, I'm drawing blank today. Anyway, I think this is roughly probably about a quart bag, at least, possibly 2 quarts, half a gallon. So I think I'm going to divide this in 2. I'm going to pop it in there. I'm going to suck the air out, seal it, freeze it. And that way I've got 2 options. I can either, a little bit later down the road, I can pull it out and let it unthaw overnight and then heat it back up on the stove or the microwave, and then cut up my peppers and go ahead and put them in the oven for the 20 minutes, like I did just a minute ago. And then once, this is warm, put it on top it with cheese, put it back in the oven for 10 minutes, and you've got another stuffed pepper dish. Or, and I may do both, or I tasted this. I think it's going to make some really good Mexican soup, taco soup. I think if you add, it just needs a little bit more tomato juice and a little bit more probably like some chicken stock, chicken broth, whatever. But you put some more chicken broth and some more tomato juice in it, and then you add some corn. Like I would probably add a bag of my fresh frozen corn that I've got. So add a little bit of corn and then some beans, like some black beans or chili beans or a combination, bean, and put in there. I think that would make it phenomenal. And then you've got like tortilla shells on the side, or tortilla chips on the side, or even like the tortilla shells, the tortilla bread, whatever you want to call it. Have that to the side, and I think it would be really good. And honestly, with it this thick, it'd probably make a good dip, with your Fritos or whatever. But I think this will make some really good soup. So I'm going to divide this in 2, and I will have 2 meals in the freezer for me for a later time. So that was take 2. Who knows if I done better the first time or this time, but all right, I'll come back in a little bit. I'm gonna let this cool first. I did forget to say that. I'm gonna let this cool before I put it in my little bag and vacuum seal. That's the word. So, so I'm gonna let it cool, then put it in the bag, then put it in the vacuum sealer, vacuum seal it, put it in the freezer. But I want it to cool first. All right, so that is the end of the video. Hopefully, I'm sure you're probably shaking your head at me and some of this, but hopefully you will at least go to her recipe and maybe pull and just add some of I think I made a few changes in there, but you'll go ahead and fix them for your family, and hopefully you'll like them. We liked them okay. I think stuffed bell peppers are okay for my family, but it's not like one of our favorite dishes. So I may or may not make them again. And that leftover stuff, I think I'm going to pull that out one day this week and try to make that taco soup out of it. Because again, I forgot all about this until I was doing the editing on this video. So I'll try to get that done at least within the next couple of weeks. I'm going to make turn that into taco soup, and then I'll bring you along for the ride whenever I do that. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will talk to you in the next one. Bye.